What day is it today, Bob?
Oops. I didn't look.
Yeah, I ask you this every day.
I didn't look.
18, isn't
It's
it?
day 18, yes. Day 18. The coming of age day. We have been at sea for almost 18 days. This is the 18th day at sea. And we're getting reasonably close to our destination. Probably about 320 nautical miles to go. You can hear we're under engine power again. The wind fined away to virtually nothing this morning. And so we slatted around for a bit. We tried to get us sailing. We really couldn't do anything. So we started up the motor and get the batteries charged again and get a little bit of easting. Yesterday was a reasonably disappointing day. I shall consult my notes. It was 88 nautical miles, which is a little bit disappointing because the wind was reasonably fresh. It really just died off during the early hours this morning, so we couldn't sustain the pace, and right at the moment we've got very light winds. The man you see before you today is clearly a lot younger than he looked yesterday, because he's had a shave. The beard is gone. Oh my god, the beard is gone.
Hooray!
Wifey says hurrah, huzzah. She says I look about 15 years younger, which means I must look about 55, something like that. So what else is going on board today? Well, not very much. We're a little bit concerned about how much fuel we've got left, because we don't have enough diesel to motor all the way there, and we rather thought we were driving into the Azores high pressure system, and we would have to motor the whole distance. However, I believe that we will have winds. It's just that I think that we're going to have contrary winds. I think we're going to have winds out of the east again, almost unbelievably. The other mild concern that we had was water. We have 35 gallons bunkerage on here, drinking water. We have another 60 gallons in a keel tank, but unfortunately it's become contaminated and we haven't been able to use it. Contaminated because we had it repainted, had the keel tank repainted in the Virgin Islands, and they used the wrong type of paint, so you can't use it as a water tank. So we carried a few spare cans, which are just here. We've used 2 of those, and we keep one of them in reserve for an emergency in case the boat sinks on us and we have to abandon. So, however, we do have a spare, probably about 15 gallons of bottled water on here, and we probably do still have about 5 gallons or so left in our original tank. So we're going to be fine. We were concerned for a while, but it does raise the point, how much water should you carry? And I think the conclusion we came to is, well, you should certainly carry enough for what you think your passage is going to be, but to make it comfortable, a water maker on board would be a great idea. It's an expense and it's another thing to go wrong, but in terms of this living aboard lifestyle, it would probably be great. The huge news though today, and we've only just realised this, only just got word, having searched the bilges diligently, is that we're completely out of tonic water. And that's a goddamn tragedy. Oh my god, what are we going to do? We do have gin, but no longer any tonic water. Oh yeah, and there's a hurricane, which we've just been told about. Damn it, a hurricane, which isn't far away from us. It's actually about 300 nautical miles to our south, and it's tracking east. So I got the statistics on that from the weather routing, or the weather routing service that we've been using. And the hurricane's name is Gordon. Hurricane Gordon. Its current position is about 300 nautical miles south of us. It's tracking east, so going in the same direction that we're going, but parallel with us at about 16 knots. So it's just about to catch us up in terms of longitude, and will overtake us heading off to the east. Because we're north of it, it means we're in the less dangerous semicircle. When you talk about tropical storms, in fact you talk about any of these weather patterns really in the northern hemisphere, the right hand side of the path of the storm, that right hand semicircle is known as the dangerous semicircle. The left hand circle is usually referred to as the navigable semicircle. The dangerous semicircle is called that for a couple of reasons. Probably the principal one is in the northern hemisphere these storms have a tendency to curve off to the right. So if you're on the right hand semicircle, it may curve directly towards you. It therefore logically concludes that the leading quadrant of that right hand semicircle, the leading 90 degrees, is the most dangerous quadrant, because that's where the storm would curve into and come directly over the top of you. Also, the winds are stronger on the right hand side, and they also have a cumulative effect of if it's blowing 70 knots continuous wind, which this storm is at the moment, so it's probably gusting up to 100, but it's continuous at 70, and it's travelling at 16. If you're on the right hand side of the storm, that 16 is added to the 70 because you're picking up that speed of its direction of travel as well. But because of the way these storms revolve, if you're on the left hand side, the navigable semicircle, you can take the 16 off of the 70 miles an hour, so the winds are considerably less, still darn strong but considerably less. So we're on the safe side and we're fine. It won't impact us to any great degree. The thing about it is that the winds, as it tracks past us, the winds will go round into the east, and that's where we're headed. So we're going to have winds on the nose, hence our concern about lack of fuel, because we're going to have winds on the nose for the next few days. However, after a couple of days, 3 days maybe, the wind should ease around further to the northeast. By then we probably would have gone a little bit further north ourselves, so we'd be able to get the wind hard on the port bow and sail across the water. That's probably the way it will work out. And the other way in which it's impacting us here is we've got this most beautiful send, or very large swell, coming at us, and that's almost certainly as a result of that storm. The seas, I guess, they must be about 12 foot high, certainly 10, 12, maybe 14 feet high. Quite large. You go right down to the trough and then you come right up onto the top. There's no breaking crests. It's actually quite beautiful. So that's the day that we have. We have a distinct lack of gin and tonic. We have a beautiful long oceanic swell. We have a full-on hurricane, Hurricane Gordon, to the south of us. We have our destination 300 miles ahead of us. But we are happy. And the cat is happy. He is asleep just there, as per normal. But the most beautiful thing, apart from my wife on this boat at the moment, is this beautiful, beautiful sea that's coming towards us. It's absolutely glorious. And on that note, we shall leave you and speak to you again on what will be day 19 of this oceanic voyage from Bermuda to the Azores. Cheerio from the good ship Koru.
What you doing, Bob?
I'm dipping the fuel tank the long way around. To dip the fuel tank, we have to take off the fuel tank gauge sensor lid and then put a stick in there and then figure how much diesel is still in there, because it's an asymmetric tank. Comes down like that but then in at the bottom. And then fix this fuel gauge thing back on. Now, why don't we use the fuel gauge? Because it doesn't really work properly. So therefore, we're going to fit a dipstick properly next time we have an opportunity. Meanwhile, I have to get down in my little cave-like grotto, which is sick-making and dreadful, and take all these screws out, be very careful not to drop them in the fuel tank, dip the fuel tank, and then we know how much fuel we've got. And the news is we have about 1/4 of a tank left, which gives us about 1 day, 1.5 days of motoring, and we have about 3 days still to go. Wind's in the wrong direction. Be careful. So that's what I'm doing, my darling.